All right, what's up, guys? This is Joe and Lo. I'm Logan.
What's going
It's
on?
Joey. We got our fifth interview. We're here with Davis Cheek, quarterback from Elon, 6'3", 217. He was number 17th nationally in completion percentage. He posted 17 touchdowns, almost 3,000 yards with only 5 interceptions. But he's also a stud outside of the field, being a 9-time member of the CAA Football Commissioner's Academic Honor Roll and a 2-time member of the Dean's List. So thank you for joining us today, Davis. It means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, we're gonna get into these questions. First one I got for you is coming off your big injury. How was the recovery process for you? And what kind of mentality did you have to get through it?
Which one do you want to know about? The ACL, Liz Frank. I had brought some surgery after the season.
So the ACL.
ACL, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of give you the rundown on all of it. So 2018, we're coming off a big win in James Madison. And we're number 5 in the country. We're playing Delaware, who I think was ranked that year. And I end up tearing my ACL first quarter. And, you hear about injuries and all that kind of stuff, but to have your own and to go through that process was definitely tough. Just mentally, you kind of go to some places that you haven't been before. You're starting to have success, and then it kind of gets taken away. And then on top of that, you really want to be out there for your teammates. And it's really the first time that I was like, just really couldn't play. Like I've had some tweaks on things like any athlete does, but always was able to play. So it was definitely different. It was new. Learned a lot about myself, just in the mental side of things, really just, I guess emotionally as well. And then, come back from that and everything was great. I haven't had any problems with it for a few years now. And then last year, it was February 6th, and we were a couple weeks out. We were getting ready for the spring season. And it was an overtime period. I'm running after a guy, actually. We had a fumble during the overtime period. And, me being who I am, I'm like, hey, look, if this guy scores in an overtime period, like if he takes it back, then it's game over. There's no game or anything like that. We're just in a random scrimmage. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get running and make sure that he doesn't score. But the thing was, I had black jersey on. So, which just means that I was the only person not live in the whole entire scrimmage for the reason so I don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm running and I'm cutting them off. And the thing is, I get closer. I'm like, well, I have a black jersey. They can't hit me. I'm not going to go and just like hit this kid. Like that doesn't really seem right. So I kind of get close and see if the refs are going to blow the whistle. The thing is, they didn't blow the whistle. And so he makes a move behind me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, screw this. I'm going to tackle him. So I plant on my right foot and I feel something kind of pop. And I'm like, that was weird. And I thought I just came out of my shoe. And I kind of baseball turned around, ran. He ended up falling. And we ran for like 10, 15 yards. He ended up falling and I fall over him. And on the ground, I check my foot and you see me kind of check it on film. And I'm like, the shoe didn't bust. That's weird. Stand up, take a step. And I was like, oh, that's not happening. So I get that surgery. And fast forward a couple more months now, I'm like, guys, like my ankle is killing me. Like, holy crap, this is I don't know what's going on, like whatever. And it turns out I had some bone spurs that we just missed. It was hard to see on the x-ray, but we just missed them. And I had some bone spurs and stuff like that. So I basically, throughout the season, I just kept twisting my ankle. It was minor twists, but it still affected it. And it got to the point to where, I just something that I wasn't going to necessarily make worse, but I wasn't going to get better either. So it was just kind of every step hurt. But it's a minor hurt and everybody has their thing. So it's really nothing to complain about. But I was happy to get it cleaned up after the season. So I got a rostrum surgery after the season, which sucked for the timing because I was starting to build some steam and then have to get another surgery and never looks good. But it actually, I feel a million times better than I did. I'm like back to running, back to full speed with everything. So it's a long drawn out thing to just be like, all of that stuff made me a lot better. I've had to really look at myself in a lot of different ways, look at my teammates, try to figure out how to grow and how to be better and how to service other people without actually offering anything in terms of my play. How do I stay with the team without being able to play? So I got to learn a lot about being just a leader, being a person, being a teammate, just things that make me better and I think will help me down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these injuries, like, they can take you out, make you maybe a worse athlete, not as, movable as you were before, but like then it really does show you like in a mental side,
Yeah.
like who you are as a person, what you can go through and how you can recover from that. So
Yeah. I'm definitely trying to show on Pro Day, which is April 1st, that I'm just because I've had this stuff doesn't mean I'm any less of an athlete. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling good and ready to kind of showcase that.
So we like. So I watched a little bit of your film, but you get the ball out quickly. You have a fast throwing motion. You throw a pretty ball, and the way you like roll out, throw those unorthodox throws. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that, obviously. But is this something that you've practiced over the years, or did it just come naturally?
Yeah, this thing's I think a little bit of it is natural. You kind of have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'd say I've repped things a lot, and that's actually on the first part of my film this past year, I felt like I really didn't do a good job throwing on the run, and now I think that was mainly due to the fact that like I really couldn't run for pretty much any other time other than Saturday afternoons. So because that was the only time that I was actually feeling pretty decent. So I really didn't get a chance to actually throw in general with the guys other than camp, and then really do like on the move stuff. So it got a little bit of opportunities to do it, but not near as much as what I would have during before preseason. So I got better throughout the season, and really what I did was I just kind of brought it into my game day routine as I just started moving around game day routine. So that helped me out. But yeah, I'd say a little bit of it's natural. A lot of it as well is just like watching film, figuring out watching other guys film, people like Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, those guys. I mean, those guys can move decently well. I'd say I'm comparable to them in terms of my ability to move.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be a Lamar Jackson. Like one area that I really struggle is like, you want to get me outside the pocket in terms of if it's like a one-on-one and it's 20 yards downfield, I got to make a guy miss. It's really, I don't know if it's happening. You know what I mean? I'm gonna slide most likely. So, but in the pocket movement, I feel very comfortable being able to navigate it, being able to get out of sticky situations and get out of those one-on-ones or even two-on-ones.
Yeah. Your pocket presence is what stands out too. You roll out to the left, you kind of got that Aaron Rodgers throw. As you're saying. Yeah.
I definitely have watched some film and tried to get the feel of it. I'm not as gifted as he is, but I definitely try to incorporate things where I can.
Yeah. You just got paid $50 million a year, so
you did.
Hey, you know what?
You're a good player to model your game around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a 50th of that.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of just answered this with Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow, but next question I got for you is, which player do you try and model your game around?
I did watch a lot of Aaron Rodgers early in my career, mainly just because I wanted to be a more of a field thrower, more of a I felt like I did some unorthodox things. Like if you go back to my freshman year film, you'll see me I slotted it more here. And the thing was I just wasn't very strong. So I had to figure out other ways to try and create torque and everything. So I ended up actually kind of rotating. Like you'll see how I would over rotate my body and try to basically like swing my arm around to create speed. So as I got stronger, I started trying to fix those things a little bit, come a little more over the top like I want to do. But yeah, I started watching more Joe Burrow recently. I really like his film, and mainly just because I feel like I can relate to a lot of the stuff that I see there in terms of being an athlete, decision making, quick processing, throwing motion, like all that kind of stuff. He's very technical. I think, he does a lot of things really, really well. And I mean, clearly, everybody's been raving about Joe Burrow, and it for good reason. I mean, he's a really good player. So just trying to pick up on anything. And the reason I watched Rodgers a lot was mainly for that pocket presence, that feel, just like he's so nonchalant, but he does everything effortless. Like the thing is, he looks nonchalant even though he's moving or he's doing things intentionally. So try to just pick up on things where I can and really just try to get anything. I've also watched a lot of Tom Brady. I mean, that's the goal.
So
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
So I kind of touched up on the fact that you kind of excelled as a student, but you graduated with the strategic communications degree, right?
Yep.
3.51 GPA. Yeah. Now you're working on your MBA, but how important is the classroom to you, and does it have any correlation to your success on the field?
Yeah, for sure. I truly believe that you can't just be great in one area. Like if you want to be great at one thing, you have to try and be great at everything that you do, because it's not a light switch. You can't just flick it on and off and kind of choose your spots where you want to be really good. So I really did try to do I try to do my best in all areas of my life. I'm not great at everything. So school's always one of those things as well, though. Like I knew going into it, like I wanted to be a really good student, but football always came first for me. Like that's just the way that I operated. It's like that's number one, and that's just the way it was. So if I felt like I needed to get a workout in or like re-edit a paper or something like that, I would kind of weigh the options and be like, I'm gonna go get a workout.
Yeah.
So, but it was always calculated, and it was always like, what do I need to do in this time? So, and obviously I started working my master's. So I was trying to build a plan for the future and build a plan for, hey, what is life after football? And, I have a bunch of different interests and talents and hobbies and stuff like that. So I really feel confident that no matter what happens with football or anything else, that I'm going to be able to be whatever I would like to be.
That's important too.
It is. It is. You never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've already had a few injuries, one or two more, and like people sometimes maybe they don't give you a shot. So I totally get it.
Understandable. Next question I got for you is: you had 0 stars coming to college, coming out of high school. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and tells some kids like that are in the same shoes as you what they need to do to get to that college level?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the biggest thing for me and what I learned in high school, if I could go back and do it again, is don't leave any questions unanswered. Like when you get there, like you really only get one shot. And it's really hard for kids, especially at a high school level, to conceptualize like what your life's gonna be like 10, 20 years down the road. But the thing is that I always planned with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is like later down the road, when I'm old, when I really can't move, what do I want my life to look like? And so I think as I had to ask those questions, and I don't have it all figured out, but I kind of built out a general plan, and I always knew a general idea of where I wanted to go. And I always knew that football was that thing for me, that I really wanted to do something. I wanted to be great in it. And the thing is, I know it challenged me as a person. So I always found a love through that, and not necessarily like other people, like the recognition portion of it, or money or anything like that. Like that's all stuff that you have to be able to handle and deal with, but it's not the main reason for doing it. So I'd say that if I could give one piece of advice, it'd just be, don't leave any stone unturned. Do everything you can to just keep working. I definitely regret not working harder my junior season. The thing was that I felt like I tried to work hard, but I didn't know how to work hard. And that was the thing that I had to really figure out. So I guess it also brought me to wherever I got to in college as well. So it's great. And then in terms of recruiting process, just find a place where you can play and find a place that wants you. That's the best thing that you can do, because you can make a home out of anywhere. But if you go to a place that loves you, and then you go to a place that supports you and you can play, then you have a chance. Your chances increase greatly. But if you just want to try to go chase that D1 dream, and you might be a D2 player at the time, and you kind of show people, hey, like maybe you're not a D2 player at the end of your college career, but you got to start there, then that's fine. It's not a big deal. Just make the most of your situations.
I feel like this JUCO route is kind of becoming more popular as of now, and then transferring into like a D1 school.
Yeah, now that there's essentially free agency in
transfer
college, I'm really glad that I missed that, to be completely honest with you, because it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy out there, and then like it's definitely harder to figure out why people play the game and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's really awesome for a lot of people, because they get to have opportunities that other people don't. But it definitely makes things cloudy. Coaches are getting more cutthroat, I think, maybe out of necessity. Players are too. So I'm glad I just don't have to deal with that as much, and I get to kind of get into the cut through world of the NFL versus that.
I get it. Yeah. So you were in the NFLPA Bowl a couple weeks ago. Can you just tell us a little bit about that experience and what you took from it?
Yeah. So I that was one of those things that I got invited to go there in December, and I knew that I just wasn't gonna be ready by that time. I was actually gonna, like, my deadline to be able to play in the game. I was about a month away. So I just missed the ability to play in the game, but I was able to go and just be available for interviews, be available to, kind of soak in the knowledge that they give you. We had a meeting with Michael Vick and Teddy Bridgewater. So that was really, really awesome. Kind of picked their brains. I mean, kind of got an insight of what it's like to be an NFL quarterback, schedule, what do they do in preparation, just stuff like that. And actually, I heard a guy, Bucky Brooks. So he came and he talked to us as well. And I actually really enjoyed his talk. I wrote down a bunch of different notes on it, but it's he was really awesome. He's actually from Raleigh as well, which I'm from Charlotte. So he knows about Elon and all that. So it was really cool. He was a really nice guy. He kept it real. The big thing that you learn is, this isn't sweet. Like, you gotta go. There's only so many opportunities that you get, and you gotta take advantage of every single one that you get. So you gotta make sure that you're on top of it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So you're obviously a tremendous football player. What is your favorite part about your own game that maybe separates you from other quarterback prospects?
I'd say most likely, I'd say just processing, quick, like decision making. I think you see over my career. I've always been a pretty good decision maker. I've always made good decisions, and I've always gotten better, like, throughout the year. So if you go look at the first game, there's, that's not the most polished I'm going to be. And if you go and look at the last game, I've cleaned up on a lot of things that I was, missing throughout the year. And the thing is, I've also gotten better every single year. My trajectory has always gone like that. And I can say that extremely, I hope that comes across as, like, not egotistical or anything, but it's completely judgment free. That's what it is.
Yeah, you're working hard.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I've always never been afraid of the grind of things, the process, like, always trying to figure out how to make it better. I've always been I've always harped on that, but I just say my decision making, my processing, I'm very anticipatory. The only times you really see me uncomfortable would be when I don't process things, and which is a rare time, but I'd just say that part of that mental part of the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Going back to, like, the quarterback play, but you obviously have to know how to read defenses pre-snap, maybe even make adjustments, out route. But what is your process of understanding the coverage prior to the snap? Do you have, like, any specific steps or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really, that kind of stuff starts, the Sunday before games. Like, you want to have an idea of who your opponent is, tendencies that they have. What do they base out of? What are they going to most likely go to? And then from there, it's just kind of a guessing game. And it's educated guesses, which is kind of the portion that I like. But yeah, I mean, for me, the first thing that you do when you go out and you look at a coverage is that you want to look at the safeties. You look at the safeties, try to figure out, is it middle open, middle closed? And then from there, you want to move to corners, linebackers. You want to find the boundary triangles, field triangles. Like, hey, what are people doing? What kind of tips do I get? And so those tips, what they'll do is they'll tell you, all right, what kind of coverage are they trying to show? What are they most likely trying to do? Because people also do different things at different formations, and you have to know that going into the game. Some teams are like for example, blitz the back team. Like, if it's third down, they might like to send pressure to the back, and you got to know that, because you got to know how to slide your line differently. Sometimes you can get 4-man slides. Sometimes for us, we'll get 4-man, 3-man slides, things like that. Work with basically guard, center, guard. They create a triangle with the 2 down linemen and ID if it's a 4 down front. Then you get the tackles that basically end up getting on islands. There's also different protections and all that kind of stuff. So it really is a lot of reps. You have to take those mental reps throughout the week, and that's really what it is. So tweaked my process throughout college with that. But really what I do is I don't have like a set number of hours or anything that I try to watch to get that down, because even explaining it, I feel like it could definitely be a lot to try and understand. But I've always just watched it to make sure that I'm comfortable with what I need to know. Finding the key to the play is what I just try to do on every single play. So, but it starts with the safeties, the corners, the linebackers. Like, hey, are they in a different technique up front? Things like that. Do they have a good pass rusher here? So, you find those questions out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you kind of just shore up your process throughout the week.
Yeah.
I don't think like a casual fan knows how much thinking goes into being a quarterback.
100%.
Yeah, and it's hard to. It really is. As a fan of the game, I mean, you just watch it. It's hard. TV doesn't do it justice, and it's really hard. And especially the way that we read things and Elon is going to be different than how they do it at UNC, at NC State, at any other school. You know what I'm saying? So, and some people they don't necessarily have. They don't have to do what I do, and I don't have to do what they do. So it's really just learning what you need to do and just do that as well as you can. So it's definitely hard though for a casual fan to just be like, oh yeah, this is extremely impressive.
Yeah.
The little nuances of the game, I'd say, are the hard things to pick up on.
So we kind of touched on this, but everyone knows quarterback is one of the toughest positions in football. As a quarterback, what would you say is the toughest part of being a quarterback? Would you say it's the processing, going through coverages, or in your opinion, what is it?
I think it depends on who you are as a person. But I mean, there's been times for me that I've definitely, it's more just the mental side of things. I mean, it's not a very physical position. I'd say the hardest position especially when you're coming into college, or even when you go in the NFL, but really as a freshman in college to start at, I would say offensive line. Like, they have to know almost as much as the quarterback, if not more, and they have to try and move 300-pound people against their will. So, which is like an absurd thing to think about, but yeah, there's a lot of things, I guess.
We get it. Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that just go into being a quarterback, but yeah, I mean, processing is definitely one of them. Just the mental side as a whole. You're managing expectations. You're managing really yourself as well, but also climate of the locker room. You're trying to manage other people. That's a very big thing that you have to be able to do as a quarterback, because you're automatically leader. You're automatically put on a pedestal, and you have to know how to control yourself, control what you can with other people, and understand that there's going to be things that you can't control. And so how do you get relative with the inevitable? How do you get relative with things that you can't control? And that's the best way that I found to deal with those things. But yeah, there's a whole lot of things that go into it, but just that mental side and managing yourself, managing people, and then learning what your keys are to every single play.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's a lot of things. I mean, like you said, TV doesn't really do it justice. The fans don't really know what it comes to as being a player on the field. There's a lot of different stuff you need to know.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to pick up on.
Yeah. So you've been playing football for a little while now throughout your career, but what is your favorite part about the sport?
I say one of my, it's kind of cliche, but just the grind of it, the process you have to go through on every week, especially when you're coming off a win, and like it's not one of those wins that you just cruise through. It's one of those hard fought wins where your body's sore the next day, and then you got to get up and do it again. And I don't know, there's something kind of peaceful about that. There's something that's really awesome about that. You went to battle, and you come back, and you got to do it again and get ready. And at the same time, football just humbles you in so many different ways. So it really is a metaphor for life, in a lot of different ways. But yeah, just say those kind of things.
All right. So throughout your football career, what has been your biggest motivation as a player?
Biggest motivation? I've always had this like want to be great at football, great in general, to be honest with you. Like one of my earliest memories of playing sports when I was 3 years old, I played YMCA soccer in Hickory, North Carolina. And I remember for some reason we had picture day after a game. I don't know if it was like scheduling or what it was. We had picture day after the game and we lost the game. And in the picture, everybody like the guy told us to smile, and I was like, "Why would I smile? We lost." I'm 3 years old, and the thing is, like, I look crazy to like all the other kids. Like, you literally see I need to find this picture, but you see this picture, and I'm like, my hair is all messed up, and I'm just pissed. I'm just
That stare into the camera.
yeah, and like I remember vividly thinking like, why would I do this? So I don't know, man. Like I've just always really had that like want to be great at something, and really it's football. I was just really drawn to. So it's some. I don't know if that's parents. I don't know if that's just innate. Is it genetic? Does it come from like a higher power? Like I don't know. Like it really is something that is baffling to me, but I'm really appreciative of it.
Definitely a good mindset to have too.
Oh yeah, always wanting to win.
Yeah. So we know you're rehabbing your injury, but what does a typical off-season day look like for you?
So right now is different. It's different than any off-season day. Usually by this time you're already back in spring ball. If you're in college, you usually like what it is. January is kind of that building strength time. And then this time is kind of learning to move with it again in terms of football and making sure you're cleaning up some skills that you need to work on. But right now for me, the big thing is that you're kind of in this limbo of you're training for pro day and also trying to stay an athlete, because while the combine drills and the pro day drills tell you a little bit about who like people are, and who they are as athletes and things like that, they're also not, they're obviously they're not perfect for football. Like me running a 40-yard dash, like it kind of tells you about who I am a little bit as an athlete, but it doesn't necessarily tell you other things. So I'm trying to you have to balance the drill side of things, but then also the football side of things, and making sure that you know your offense that you haven't ran in a few months at this point, like making sure you know that inside out, backwards, and know it cold. On top of that, you got to try and like expand your knowledge of like, hey, what are some basic terms of NFL offenses? How do they read stuff, like that kind of thing. You're trying to like build some of that knowledge, but then also make sure that on the athletic side, you're able to throw a football and you're not just like getting too big, or like you're not tweaking anything. You got to make sure that you're in shape enough you got to get fast, you got to get strong, like you got to do those things. So it's a really weird time. It's definitely a grind. Pretty much what I do right now is I wake up, I go train in the morning, and it's usually a movement session for us. I'll get some treatment, get some lunch, come back in the afternoon. It's usually a strength session, whether it's upper body or lower body. And then it's more treatment and stuff like that. Pretty much repeat the next day. Off today, like today I had a regen session, and I actually did some quarterback training up in Huntington Beach. And then tomorrow is going to be back at it. We're going to be doing some sprints, things like that, just trying to work different parts of everything. So it's definitely it's a huge process oriented thing, but it's fun. I really enjoy this.
Yeah. Love the grind, like you said. You love the grind.
Yeah, for sure.
Next question we got for you is so you touched on a little earlier that football is not forever and you never know when it can end.
Yep.
And you said that you're prepared for anything. What kind of job would you pursue if it wasn't for football?
Oh man.
Tough question, I know.
It is. And the reason it's tough is because while I've given things a thought in its most basic form of like, hey, you got to make sure that you're set up for life after football, I've never thought about specifics. Like I could see myself trying to go into business world. I could see myself also just not doing that and trying to do literally anything else. I love to play golf. Maybe I'll try to be an athlete in a different way. Who knows though, man? I'm not exactly sure, but I definitely have always thought about football as my plan A, 100% to that, and just saying, you know what, I'm going with it. And if I need to find and do something else, then I at least built the background that make me credible enough to get a job.
Definitely talented enough to make a career in football. So
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
So who are your top 3 quarterbacks of all time?
All time? Oh,
yeah. Tough question.
Yeah.
Is man, I would say, I mean, Tom Brady. I'm just gonna go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And really from there, I would say Peyton Manning. I think he's just done a lot for the game in general. Oh man. I mean, you can go so many different directions. You can go like Joe Montana for what he did for the game and West Coast offense and all that kind of stuff. You could go like Aaron Rodgers. I'm a huge fan. I'm biased. I like Aaron Rodgers a lot.
Boy.
I'm a
I
big
like
Rodgers.
Drew Brees. Like I'm a huge Drew Brees fan. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go Joe Montana.
All right.
Montana.
I'm gonna go Joe
No
Montana.
Aaron Rodgers.
What'd you say?
No Aaron Rodgers in the top 3
No,
outside.
just because, and I would say just because you have to put some respect on like where the NFL came from. And the thing is, like, I can't put Aaron Rodgers above Peyton Manning and Tom Brady just because of like, I had really just timing, like putting that respect. I mean, I don't know, man. Aaron, I have a bunch of respect for Aaron, as I think millions of people do. I think he's one of the best of all time, for sure. Like he's right in that conversation. I mean, I think you could interchange 2 and 3 with pretty much anybody, with Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or anything like that. So
Brady's number 1 though.
Brady's obviously number 1. Got it.
yeah, Brady's definitely.
He's a Dolphins fan too.
Oh,
It's a little tough. But see the jersey.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last question we got for you. It's a little more of a fun one. Before a game, what type of music are you listening to get you, into it, get you pumped up?
I listen to some Tory Lanez, Travis Scott. Generally speaking, I like to go for music that kind of just gets me in it's upbeat. It's more rap, hip hop oriented, but it gets me into a vibe that I'm kind of like starting to peak, and it really just kind of keeps my emotions, because it's really easy to get like all the way up here. And the thing is, a quarterback, you can't be up there. You can't be down here. So you got to like find that balance. So I try to find music that's right in there. So, some songs that come to mind are like Don't Play, Travis Scott, some of the older, like Days Before Rodeo, some of the stuff from Rodeo, Birds in the Trap, obviously. That's a really good album. And then Tory Lanez, like he actually has some stuff on YouTube that I really like. That there's a couple of them like from New Toronto that I like a lot. So those are kind of the go-tos.
Gotcha.
Like it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rodeo is a great album.
Oh,
it is. It's
Yeah.
really
It's S
Yeah.
tier.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us today again,
Yeah,
Davis.
thanks.
Really
Yeah,
means a lot to us. We'll sure be cheering you on. We're excited to see what the future
Two big
holds for
fans
you.
right here.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your time. I think this is awesome what you guys are doing, by the way. This is really cool.
We're
We're
trying.
trying our best.
Yeah.
A former years of college, just trying to get our name out there a little bit.
No, I got you, man. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey,
So that's
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks.
thank you for watching.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all.